Phoenix, Arizona, and the surrounding communities are the home of the National Football League Arizona Cardinals. Since moving to Arizona, the Cardinals have played at the Arizona State University's Sun Devil Stadium, Tempe, Arizona. In November of 2000, Maricopa County in Arizona approved Proposition 302, which allowed public funding for the construction of a new football stadium. The Arizona Tourism and Sports Authority began negotiations with Phoenix and the surrounding communities for a stadium site that offered the proper incentives and amenities. The search went on for more than a year and a half, with the stadium design and the site conditions constantly changing. Through all of this, two conditions remained constant. One, the roof must be retractable, and two, the playing field must roll out to leave a concrete-floored multi-purpose arena. In August 2002, a site was selected in the city of Glendale, and the design was finalized. Construction began in July of 2003 on this futuristic architectural work of art. Once open, this stadium will not only be home to the Arizona Cardinals, but it will host many different events, such as NCAA Final Four championships, NCAA bowl games, and the Super Bowl. The added feature of a retractable field allows for additional seating and motor events. The retractable roof will provide an opening approximately 240 feet wide by 360 feet long, centered over the playing field. A structure to accommodate this opening requires that the center portion of the roof be supported by a pair of trusses on 257-foot 6-inch centers and spanning 699 feet 6 inches. These so-called Brunel trusses are 87 feet deep and have both top and bottom chords curved to meet at the ends. The top chord of the trusses consists of a box truss, having wide flange beam cords on 15-foot centers laterally and vertically. For shipping and erection purposes, the top cords were broken up into 14 weldments with bolted field connections. They ranged in length from 44 feet to 66 feet, were 17 feet 7 inches high, and 17 feet 7 inches wide, and weighed from 103,000 pounds to 167,500 pounds.
The Brunels, these are the longest single-span Brunels ever fabricated or erected. One of the very unique things about it is that we assembled these Brunels on the ground for safety reasons, and then we jacked them into place. After this was built and delivered, the whole assembly was put together, the roof was put on it, and then lift. This was within a quarter inch of being square and within a quarter inch of being in length. So it was almost perfect in the traditional aspect of the structural steel. There was no hiccups with it. There was no injuries on the project. We made all the schedules. So it's very unique in that aspect to do something this large and this heavy and still be there on time.
Precision Heavy Haul, PHH, was selected by the roof fabricator and erector, Schuff Steel Company, to transport all portions of the roof steel from their fabrication plant in Phoenix to the stadium site in Glendale. The area is heavily populated with numerous overhead obstructions such as traffic signals, signs, and overhead wires. The 17-foot 7-inch height of the 28 box truss top chord sections made the overhead problem very significant. It was soon realized that a reduction in loaded height of 2 feet and pre-lifting all overhead wires would result in the saving of travel time and thousands of dollars over the 28 loads. The sections were very strong in bending and compression, and therefore capable of sustaining the forces from Schnabel loading. That is where the load becomes part of the bridge between the end supports. As a Schnabel load, the bottom of the truss could be carried as little as 6 inches off the road surface, a substantial reduction from being loaded on any platform. Precision Heavy Haul had previously designed and constructed a Schnabel trailer for hauling large diameter pipe. The equipment would require substantial modification, but had adequate capacity and the necessary adjustment features. The problem was further complicated by the fact that the ends of the box top chord sections did not terminate the top and bottom beams at the same location. The difference varied by more than 3 feet, and each of the 28 sections required a pair of extensions on the top chord at one end and a different pair for the bottom chord at the other end. The pinned connection between the transport equipment and the box truss sections consisted of a male connection on one end and a female connection on the other, so that the transport equipment could be joined together for the return trips.
One of the reasons we work with Precision Heavy Haul is they're technical aspects. They're not quitters. If we have an issue on a job or we want to build something, they're part of our team to help us figure out how we're going to move it from this site to where we're erecting. The aspects of Mike and his team is coming in the beginning with all of the equipment that he has, in the hindsight, the foresight. They think outside the box. We're a design-build company. Everything that we do is not typical. We need a non-typical, non-traditional trucking company to work with us. We don't need somebody that says you can only do this and this. Mike has never said we can't do this. Mike has figured out a way to work with Schuff Steel and all the projects we've done over the years and make it happen for us.
The shop at Precision Heavy Haul invested a total of 324.5 man-hours converting this trailer into a suitable fit. Precision Heavy Haul had recently designed and built a number of 4-axle dollies that were hydraulically steerable on each end and hydraulically expandable from 13 feet to 20 feet out to out. Expansion and contraction of the axles can be accomplished under full load while traveling at slow speeds. This allows the transport equipment to travel normal highways at a moderated width, expand to 20 feet when approaching a bridge and thereby obtaining the dual lane loading allowance, and then contracting again to 13 feet on the other side, all without stopping. One of these dollies was used on the rear of the Schnabel equipment, and another with a gooseneck attachment to form a Jeep was used on the front. The added feature of hat boxes on each end was a must, due to the number of 90-degree turns and curb clearance needed. The turns needed to be completed in a timely fashion to avoid traffic delays. The hauling process of the trusses consisted of handling the 28 sections 3 to 4 times. Once fabricated, each section was loaded onto a pair of 3-line Goldhofer platform trailers, separated by a 28-foot center section by the use of an overhead crane. Each section was set on 2 I-beams located on the required load points of the trailer. From there, it was moved from the fabrication shop to the laydown area where the supporting I-beams were lowered onto stands. Once the section was sandblasted, PHH would back under the section, raise the trailer for reload, and transport it to the paint shop where an overhead crane was utilized to offload. Upon paint completion, the section was then loaded into the Schnabel trailer and readied for transport. The loaded dimensions for the largest truss section moved on site at Schuff Steel was 95 feet long, 17 feet 7 inches wide, and 22 feet 7 inches high, having a gross weight of 325,000 pounds.
Mike's guys are very adaptive. There's nothing that they don't overcome. Moving them out in the yard was a very big challenge for us. Mike came up with the whole concept and the plan of using the Goldhofer to move into the yard. We would move them into the yard on the Goldhofer, which was jacked up. We would put stands underneath it, let the Goldhofer down, and drive away. That saved us thousands and thousands of dollars as a company using his concept on that.
The 15-mile haul route from the fabrication shop to the stadium consisted of crossing several bridges and wrong-weighing city streets to avoid light signals. The combined weight of the truss sections and the transport equipment exceeded the Arizona overweight permit limits for the number of axles and axle spacing being used. The law does provide for additional loading for dolly widths from 14 feet to 20 feet out to out, as much as 100% additional load for 7-foot wide axles 20 feet out to out. Due to the consistency of the routing and obstacles to be overcome, each load was accompanied by 2 highway patrol cars, 1 front escort equipped with a height pole, and 1 rear escort. The loaded dimensions of the largest truss section for traveling over the road on the Schnabel equipment was 165 feet long, 20 feet wide, 18 feet 8 inches high, and having a gross weight of 344,725 pounds. Due to congestion in the hold at the stadium and the hauling portion remaining ahead of schedule, several of the trusses were required to be staged on site outside of the stadium. This required PHH to manually detach from the trusses, leaving them on cribbing. During this time, Schuff Steel workers added mounting brackets, safety barricades, and catwalks to the trusses, adding 5,000 pounds in weight and an additional 7 feet in width. Once the stage trusses were prepped and ready for the trip down the 6% grade, PHH moved in and manually reattached the section to the trailer. The uncommonly rainy weather in Arizona made for wet, muddy site conditions. Braking and load control was a concern, so PHH opted to set 10,000 pounds of counterweight on the gooseneck to add traction and attached a D6 dozer to the rear of the trailer to ensure a safe, controlled journey into the hole. With progression and space becoming limited, once the schnabel was separated in the hole, it was required to take the trailer up and out in 2 sections. Once on top, there was adequate room for the 2 trailer sections to be pinned together for the journey home. The power units for all the transportation were T800 Kenworth tractors.
The plan Mike put together, the adapters for the boxes, their coordination with their dispatchers, their drivers, the DPS people they had to coordinate with, it was very seamless. So when we did have a problem, we really didn't know about it. I'm pretty confident to make this statement that without Precision Heavy Haul, I'm for sure we would not be where we're at on that job right now.
After 17 years of playing NFL games in a college stadium, Precision Heavy Haul feels honored to be a part in giving the Arizona Cardinals a nest of their own. Thanks to many months of planning, state-of-the-art equipment, and the skills of everyone involved, the work was completed within budget, on or ahead of schedule, with no incidents or accidents.